ॐ वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथस्य शिष्यम् श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथस्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यम् तं तोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यान् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। साक्षात्कृतं दयानन्दं परमार्थस्वरूपिणं तत्त्वज्ञानप्रशास्तारं प्रणतोऽस्मि परं पदम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तमा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। And chant the mantra beginning. Om Brahma Devanam Pratamah Sambhabhuva
Om Brahmanam
देवानां प्रथमः
Brahmanam
सम्बभूव
Vishwasya Karta Bhuvanasya Gopta
विश्वस्य कर्ता भुवनस्य गोप्ता
स ब्रह्म विद्यां सर्वविद्या प्रतिष्ठाम्
ब्रह्म
सर्वविद्या प्रतिष्ठाम्
अथर्वाय ज्येष्ठपुत्राय प्राह
अथर्वाय ज्येष्ठपुत्राय प्राह
अथर्वणेयां प्रवदेत ब्रह्मा
अथर्वणेयां प्रवदेत ब्रह्मा
अथर्वातां पुरोवाचाङ्गिरे ब्रह्मविद्याम्
अथर्वातां पुरोवाचाङ्गिरे ब्रह्मविद्याम्
स भारद्वाजाय सत्यवहाय प्राह
भारद्वाजाय सत्यवहाय प्राह
भारद्वाजो गिरसे परावराम्
भारद्वाजो गिरसे परावराम्
शौनको भवै महाशालः
शौनको वै महाशालः गिरसा
अङ्गिरसं विधिवदुपसन्नः पप्रच्छ
गिरसं विधिवदुपसन्नः प्रपच्छ
तस्मिन्नु भगवो विज्ञाते
तस्मिन्नु भगवो विज्ञाते
सर्वमिदं विज्ञातं भवति इति
सर्वमिदं विज्ञातं भवति इति
वे विद्ये वेदितव्ये तस्मै सहोवाच
तस्मै सहोवाच
वे विद्ये वेदितव्ये इति हस्म
वे विद्ये
वेदितव्ये इति हस्म
यद्ब्रह्मविदो वदन्ति परा चैवापरा च
यद्ब्रह्मविदो वदन्ति परा चैवापरा च
तत्रापरा ऋग्वेदो यजुर्वेदः
यजुर्वेदः
सामवेदोऽथर्ववेदः
अथर्ववेदः
शिक्षाकल्पो व्याकरणं निरुक्तम्
शिक्षाकल्पो व्याकरणं निरुक्तम्
छन्दो ज्योतिषमिति
ज्योतिषमिति
अथ परायया तदक्षरम् अधिगम्यते
परायया तदक्षरम् अधिगम्यते
Read the Bhashyam also. Tatra ka para iti uchyate.
तत्र का अपरा इति उच्यते
ऋग्वेदो यजुर्वेदः
ऋग्वेदो यजुर्वेदः
सामवेदोऽथर्ववेदः
सामवेदोऽथर्ववेदः
इति एते चत्वारः वेदाः
इति एते चत्वारो वेदाः
शिक्षाकल्पो व्याकरणं निरुक्तम्
शिक्षाकल्पो व्याकरणं निरुक्तम्
छन्दो ज्योतिषमिति अङ्गानि षड्
ज्योतिषमिति अङ्गानि षड्
एषा अपरा विद्या
एषा अपरा विद्या
अथ इदानीम् इयं परा विद्या उच्यते यया तद्वक्ष्यमाणविशेषणम् अक्षरम् अधिगम्यते प्राप्यते अधिपूर्वस्य गमेः प्रायशः प्राप्त्यर्थत्वात् न च परप्राप्तेः अवगमार्थस्य भेदः अस्ति विद्यायाः अपायः एव हि परप्राप्तिः
अविद्याया
विद्याया
अपाय
एव हि
परप्राप्तिः
परप्राप्तिः
न अर्थान्तरम्.
न
न
अर्थान्तरम्.
अर्थान्तरम्.
This we saw Shivasham. Let us quickly recall the meaning of the mantra and the meaning of the Bhashyam, what we saw. Angiras, the Acharya, answers the question of the Shishya, Shaunaka. The question being, Kasmin Bhagavo Vijñāti, Sarvamidam Vijñātam Bhavati iti. It started with an introduction to the Vidya, two types of Vidya, Paravidya, Aparavidya. And further he says, what are Paravidya and what are Aparavidyas and what is Paravidya. Tatra Apara Rigvedo Yajurvedaha Samavedo Atharvavedaha. These Vedas, the four Vedas, Chatvaraha Vedaha, the Vedas, they are Aparavidya. Veda is the Moola Grantha, Moola Pramanam, Apaurisheya Pramanam. That is Aparavidya. Veda is the basic text from which only all the Granthas have come. So Vedas are the original. Vedas owe the origin. All the texts owe their origin to the Vedas. Yaniha agama shastrani yascha kaschit pravrittayaha tani vedam puraskritya pravrittani yatakramu. All the Vedas have originated only from all the Shastras. All the Shastras have emanated from the Vedas only. So therefore, there is nothing equal to Veda. Vedokidam dharma moolam. It is the moola for dharma, sanatana dharma. So therefore, there is nothing comparable to Vedas. न वेद शास्त्रात् अन्यत् किंचित् शास्त्र ही विद्यते निसृतं सर्वशास्त्रं तु वेद शास्त्रात् सनातनात्. All the shastras have come from this Veda only. So whatever texts we have of different subject matter, they all owe their origin to the Vedas. And these Vedas, which are four, they are Aparavidya iti. They are Aparavidya. Then, not only that, the Veda Angas, Shiksha Kalpaha Niruktam Vyakaranam Chandaha Jyotisham. This Shad Angani, Shadangani, they are compared to the parts, the Anga, the limbs of the Veda. They are also Apara only. If Veda is compared to the body, these Vedangas are the parts of the body. Chandaha Vedasya Padau. Chandas, it is the Padau, feet of Veda. Kalpaha Astaha, hands are the Kalpa. Jyotisham Chakshuhu. Jyotisham is eye of the Veda. Niruktam Shrotram. Ears are the Nirukta. Shiksha Granam. Shiksha is Granam. It is the nose. Vyakaranam cha Mukham. Vyakaranam is the Mukha, the mouth of the Veda. All the Vedangas That's why it's called Vedanga. Vedanam Angaha, Vedangaha. Vedanam Angaha, Vedanga iti Angani, Vedangani. Vedangani Shatu. Angani Vedas Chatvaraha, Mimamsa Nyaya Vistaraha, Puranam Dharmashastram cha, Vidya Heta Chaturdasha. All these Chaturdasha, the 6 Vedangas and 4 Vedas. In addition to that, Mimamsa, Nyaya, and Puranam, Dharmashastram, all this Chaturdasha, these 14, they're called Vidyasthana, the residence of knowledge. Knowledge are contained in this Vidyasthana. All these are what? Aparavidya. All these are Aparavidya. Why Aparavidya is talked about? To know Paravidya means that Aksharam Brahma. To know that what is Apara also must be known. Para also must be known so that you know Para very clearly what Para is. So, therefore, Tatra. Tatra means Tayoho Madhye. Tayoho Madhye. Tayoho Vidyayoho Madhye. In between the two Vidyas. What are Apara Vidya and what is Para Vidya? That is what the teacher Angiras says. All the 4 Vedas, Apara Vidya, even the one who has studied all the 4 Vedas, what does he know? He knows Apara Vidya. Para Vidya, not yet. He has got exposure to the Apara Vidya only. Even if the person has studied the whole Veda, people, they study the Veda, they commit the Veda to memory. A person is supposed to know is at least one is the Shaka of the Veda to which he belongs. At least what Shaka must be known. And there are people who knows 2 Vedas. His own Veda, that is a Veda which his family owns, he knows. In addition to that, other Veda also he knows. Those people are called by the name Dvivedi. That is called Dvedi. You say some people have the name Dvivedi. Some people know the 3 Vedas. In addition to knowing one's own Veda, they know 3 Vedas. They're called Trivedis. Some people know all the 4 Vedas, Chaturvedi. So some family have got the surnames. Dvivedi, Trivedi, Chaturvedi. These are the names because their ancestors probably, they know the Vedas. Therefore, this has come as a surname. Knowing the Veda, the whole Veda, not the form of a reading, the form of the whole Veda is in their head. Once they start chanting, they will keep chanting, never stop. The whole Veda is in their memory. Commit to memory. They started learning from the Veda Pathashala when they were young, and they commit the whole Veda to memory. And what is this Vidya? Apara Vidya. And to understand the Veda, we need the tools that are provided by the Vedangas. Shiksha Shastram, Kalpa Shastram, Vyakaranam, Niruktam, Chandaha, about which we discussed. Shiksha Shastram is a science of phonetics. Science of phonetics of the pronunciation of the Varna as well as the Shabda and the sentence, the Vakya. Because the Vakya is made up of Shabdas, and Shabdas are made up of Varnas. So knowing the Varna Ucharanam and therefore the Shabda and the Vakya, all these are dealt by the Shiksha Shastram. Similarly, Kalpa. Kalpa is a Vedanga which gives the details of performing the rituals. which are mentioned in the Brahmana part of the Veda. Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad. Vedas are divided into 4 from a particular standpoint. Vedas are divided into Veda Purva, Veda Bhaga. That is one division. Another way of dividing it. So, having the knowledge of rituals, the know-how of the rituals, it is given by the Kalpa Shastram. Kalpa Shastram provides the details, how to use the mantra, where to use, how to perform the rituals. So, therefore, Kalpa Shastram. And Vyakaranam is very important. Vyakaranam is grammar. Shabda Utpatti Jnanam Vyakaranam. To understand the words, the meaning of the words, going to the etymology of the word, understanding the pratyaya added to the prakriti, whether it is a dhatu or a shabda, understanding the meaning. For that, Vyakaranam is required. Vyakriyate anena iti Vyakaranam. Shabda Jnanam is very important. Only when the meaning of the Shabda is known, then only the meaning of the Vakya will be clear. So Vyakaranam is very important. And many Vyakarana Granthas are there. The famous one we know, Panini Magarishis, Ashtadhyayi. That is only one Vyakaranam. There were many Vyakaranams before. Even now it is there some Vyakaranam. But Panini's Vyakaranam is the most famous one. Then Niruktam. Niruktam is simply can be understood as it's a Vedic dictionary. Niruktam. All these Granthas were authored by some rishis. Some people. Shiksha, Kalpo, Vyakaranam, like Vyakaranam, Panini Magarishi. They are supportive to the study of the Veda. They are secondary Shastram. Then Chandas. Chandas is meter. We know there are 2 important meters we come across. One is Anushtup Chandas, other one is Trishtup Chandas. Gayatri Chandas also is there. These are meters which are used in the Veda. Not only in the Veda, as well as in the other text, you find the meters. Different meters are there. That is Chandas, Chanda Shastram. Then Jyotisham. Jyotisham means understanding the day, the tithi, the nakshatra, the masa, whether it is Uttarayanam or Dakshinayanam, all the details, and understanding and gaining the knowledge of the suitable time for performing a ritual or for chanting a mantra. That is all dealt by the Jyotish Shastram. These are the 6 plus 4, 10. These are the Aparavidya iti Angiras says, Aparavidya. And what is Paravidya? Paravidya just given in one line. Ata Yaya Para Tat Aksharam Adigamyate. Yaya Tat Aksharam Adigamyate Sa Para iti. So Paravidya is that by which Aksharam Naksharati iti Aksharam. That which is not subject to change. That which is not subject to Kshara. Which is not subject to decay. That is Aksharam. That by which Aksharam Adigamyate. Important. The word Adigamyate. That by which the Aksharam is Adigamyate, Prapyate, Nyayate. That is called Paravidya iti. So the whole Vedas are Aparavidya. Supporting Vedangas, Aparavidya. And Paravidya is that by which the Aksharam is Brahma. Brahma alone is Aksharam. that by which Aksharam Brahma is known, is gained. Adigamyate means gained, prapyate. That by which Aksharam Brahma is gained, that is Paravidya. Prapyate, attained. What is the meaning of the word attained? That also Bhashyakara clearly gives. In the case of Paravidya, Adigamyate, that is Prapyate means Nyayate ityartaha. In the case of Paravidya. In other cases, Adigamyate, Prapyate, attaining, physical attaining, that is applicable. But in the case of this Paravidya, Adigamyate is Prapyate, Nyayate. Knowing is attaining. There is no physical attainment. Because Aksharam Brahma doesn't have any specific location, specific time. Only when specific location is there, then it can be referred to by time. So therefore, knowing Aksharam Brahma is gaining Aksharam. Generally, knowing is not attaining. Knowing is not attaining. You know Rishikesh, you know Kashi, doesn't mean it attaining Kashi, not gaining Kashi. Gaining means attaining. Knowing is one thing and gaining, attaining is another thing. If you want to reach, if you want to attain, then there is effort involved. You know Kashi, then you want to attain Kashi, then there is effort. You have to go to Kashi. But it is not in all the cases. In some cases, knowing is attaining. There no karma is involved, no effort is involved. Knowing is gaining. Like what? Like we can give the example of the 10th man, the story of the 10th man. All the 10 people have crossed the river. After reaching the other shore, they counted. The counter counted all the persons except himself, and he found only 9 persons. 9 persons crossed. Then they thought one person was drowned in the river. So they were worried. That time, another person came, and when he saw the people worrying, he asked, "Why do you worry? We 10 crossed the river, but one person is missing." That person understood the mistake committed by the counter. Did you count yourself? No. So he counted. The person was seeking the 10th person, 10th man. The 10th man is himself, that he doesn't know. So when he counted, he found that he himself was the 10th man. So he attained the 10th man. How did he attain? By knowing, he attained. That is knowing. By knowing, you gain, you attain. If there is something is gained by knowing, then that gaining, that attaining is not physical attaining. It is a removal of ajnanam, the ignorance, that caused the distance as though. And when the ajnanam is removed, you gain it, you attain it. So knowing is attaining. So therefore, this adigamyate, the word adigamyate is avagamyate ityartaha. So adigamyate is equal to avagamyate, because this in the form of knowledge which removes the ajnanam. Removal of ajnanam is gaining, avagamanam. Therefore, adigamyate. This gam dhatu with, generally the gam dhatu, which is in the sense of movement, the motion, that is also used in the sense of knowing. In English also, it is like that. Did you get it? Getting means what? Not physically getting it. Did you understand it? So getting is understanding. Similarly, this gam dhatu is also used in this. We have seen that. In Vyavaharite, we have seen that it is also used in the sense of knowing it. So, Adi Purvaka Gam Dhatoho, the form Adigamyate is there. That Gam Dhatu, which is in the sense of movement, need not be physical movement. It is, there is no physical movement involved, but you gain it. It means what? You know it. That is called attaining, gaining. So here, Aksharam Brahma. Aksharam Brahma is attained. It means what? You know it. Attaining Brahma is knowing Brahma. This is very important. So there is no physical gaining. Later in the Upanishad, we will see another word also. Very important, simple dhatu. Bhavati. Brahmavit Brahma eva bhavati. Bhavati from the Bhu dhatu. Bhu dhatu means it is to become. To become Bhu. There is no becoming. Knowing Brahma, you gain Brahma. That is what we have seen. Knowing Brahma is gaining Brahma. Knowing Brahma is gaining Brahma. Reaching Brahma. Reaching is in terms of knowing, not physically reaching. And knowing Brahma is gaining Brahma. The person who knows Brahma, he becomes Brahma. Where is the question of becoming? There is no becoming. It doesn't transform into Brahma. He recognizes himself to be that Aksharam Brahma. That is a word, that is the meaning of the dhatu, bhavati. The bhavati has to be translated. Even though bhu dhatu means to become, becoming, but there is no really becoming. In the normal sense, we cannot take the word becoming. We have to translate it properly as recognizing oneself to be Brahma, that Aksharam Brahma. These dhatus and the meaning have to be known clearly and then appropriately translate. So Adhigamyate means Avagamyate, knowing, gaining. Gaining is in terms of knowing. That Bhashyakara clearly says Adipurvasya Gamekhe Prayashaka Praptyartatvat, and also Parapraptihi. Parapraptehe Avagamatasya Vedaha Nasti. In terms of Parapraptihi, Adhigama and Avagama, there is no difference between these two. In terms of Parapraptihi, in terms of Para is Brahma, in terms of gaining Brahma, there is no difference. So Adhigamyate is equal to Avagamyate. Parapraptehe Avagamartasya na Vedaha Asti. There is no difference between Adhigamanam and Avagamanam. No difference between attaining Brahma and knowing Brahma. That is why Adhigamyate is Avagamyate. He knows. Knowing what? Knowing Para, Brahma. So in the context of Paravidya, knowing is gaining. Whereas in the context of Aparavidya, knowing is not gaining. Gaining is not knowing. Gain, you have to gain it physically. There is some effort involved. There are efforts involved in terms of apara. Now, if it is paravidya, which is gained by knowing, gaining removes ajnanam. And ajnanam is a cause for samsara. Ajnanam is avidya is a cause for samsara. So avidya nivritya samsara nivrittihi, moksha praptihi. And therefore, for avidya to go, what is the mean? Knowledge is the only means. Therefore, avidyayaha apayaha evahi parapraptihi. Removal of avidya alone is gaining the para, gaining aksharam brahma. Removal of avidya. How avidya is removed? By knowledge. Therefore, avidyayaha Apayah, removal. Removal of avidya alone is gaining Brahma, attaining Brahma. Attaining is in terms of knowing. Parapraptihi, na arthantaram, not any other meaning. It means there is no physically gaining. It is gaining in terms of knowing, knowledge, jnanam. Jnanam eva, jnanena eva, ajnana apayaha iti. Iti Bhashyakara says. Up to this we have seen. Now, further, continues Bhashyakara. Before that, now there is a Purva Pakshi comes. Purva Pakshi raises an objection. This is how the Bhashya will be. This is how the Bhashya. Purva Pakshi will rise and the Bhashyakara will give Samadhanam. Akshepasya Samadhanam Vyakyanam Panchalakshanam. That's called Vyakyanam. You have to explain the meaning of the mantra using the words, and the words, meaning of the words also have to be explained. And it is explained using the words. The words could be a samasa, the samasa vigraha to be given. Then there will maybe a Purva Pakshi raising an objection, and you have to give a samadhanam. All these five are called, all these five are the lakshanam of a vyakyanam. Vyakyanam, pancha lakshanam. So now here akshepa. Akshepa is raised by the Purva Pakshi. What is it, akshepa? You will read. Nanu
Nano
Rigvedadi bhaghyaha
Vedadi
Bhashya
Rigvedadi bhaghya. You can take it up. It's bhaghya only. Rigvedadi bhaghya
Vedadi Bhashya
Targi sa katam para vidya syat
Tarhi sa katam para vidya syat
moksha sadhanam cha.
Moksha
moksha
sadhanam
sadhanam
cha.
cha.
Yes. Purva Pakshi right, says. What does it say? Nano. Nano indicates it is an objection. Nano, objection. Rigvedadi bhakhya tarhi sa katam paravidya syat moksha sadhanam cha. Angiras said tatra, that is of the two vidyas. Aparavidya is the four Vedas and the Vedangas. The four Vedas, he said four Vedas are Aparavidya. The four Vedas are Aparavidya. Fine. Then what is Paravidya? Ata parayaya tadaksharam adhigamyate. So Ata means these four Vedas and Vedangas are Paravidya. Now there is Ata. Another thing is that, what is that? Para. Para is Brahma Vidya, Akshara Vidya, by which the Aksharam Brahma is known. So there is another new Vidya is there, separate Vidya is there, different Vidya is there. What is that? Paravidya. So what is the conclusion we come by hearing this? The four Vidyas, the four Vedas and Vidyas, the four Vedas and the Vedangas, they are Aparavidya. They are Aparavidya. And now I am talking about Paravidya. If you say, then what do we understand? It means Paravidya is outside the Vedas, not located in the Vedas. Because Vedas are Aparavidya, you said. So Paravidya must be different from the Veda. It must be located outside the Veda. So Veda Bhagyatvam asti for Paravidya. It is outside the Veda. If it is outside the Veda, then how can it be a Pramanam? Then how can it be a Pramanam? if it is outside the Veda, whether it is Paurusheya or Apaurusheya Vishaya, number one, then how can be a Pramanam? And how can it be a means for moksha? For moksha, we say Vedas to be studied. Now, this Paravidya is different from Aparavidya. That is what we defined. Then, how moksha is possible? How this Veda, how this Paravidya will have the status of Pramanatvam, because it has got Veda Bhagyatvam, and therefore how can it be a moksha? So Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, all these four Veda, they are very clearly said they are different from Paravidya. That is clear from the mantra. That is what Angiras said. So outside the Veda, when you say outside the Veda, then it is not considered to be a valid Pramanam. Vedas are the Pramanam. So outside the Veda, it's not a Pramanam. Therefore, it cannot be the means for moksha. Because we said Vedanta is a means for moksha. Upanishad are the means of moksha. And Upanishad are at the end of the Veda. That is why it is called Vedanta. Upanishads, they are located at the end of the Veda. Therefore, they are Vedanta. And Upanishads, the Vedanta is a means for moksha when we say. Then this Paravidya by which Aksharam Brahma is gained. Aksharam Brahma is gained, it's known. And that is located outside the Veda. When you say, then the Vedanta and the Veda, and they become different from the Paravidya. Then how can you say Upanishad, the Vedanta, the means for moksha? That is not correct. This is the Purva Pakshi's argument. That which is outside the Veda, how can it be higher than the Vedas? How can it be given the name Paravidya, higher knowledge? That is the objection. Rigvedadi Bhagya, what? This Akshara Vidya, Paravidya. Rigvedadi Bhagya, the Paravidya, Targi, if it is so, Sa Paravidya Katam Syat, Moksha Sadhanam, then Sa Katam Paravidya. How can the knowledge be para? How can that knowledge be? That is a knowledge by which you gain the Aksharam Brahma. How can that be Paravidya, higher knowledge? And therefore Moksha Sadhanam. How can it be a sadhana for moksha? Iti Purva Pakshi argues. And also he quotes from Manusmriti. He has got the validation. Therefore, he quotes from the Manusmriti. We can read the next line. Ya Veda Bhakyaha Smritayaha.
Ya Veda Bhakyaha Smritayaha.
Yascha Kascha Kudrushtayaha.
Yascha Kascha Kudrushtayaha.
Sarvastaha Nishpalaha.
Sarvastaha Nishpalaha.
Pretyatamo Nishtahi Taha Smritaha.
Pretyatamo Nishtahi Taha Smritaha.
Itihi Smaranti.
Itihi Smaranti.
Manusmriti, therefore Smaranti. Smaryate, it is Smritihi. It is remembered. It quotes from the Manusmriti. Manusmriti, what does it say? It is Smaranti. Manusmritihi Smaranti. Manusmriti says that Ya Veda Bhagyaha. That is Smritayaha. Smriti Granthas of various authors. Smritis are based on Shruti Mula Shastram, Mula Pramanam. Smritis are based on Shrutis. So, Ya Veda Bhagyaha, outside the Veda, outside the Veda, outside the subject matter of the Veda, outside the subject matter of the Veda, the Smritayaha, etc. Yaha, yaha cha, kaha cha, kudrushtayaha. So, that which are outside the Veda, outside the subject matter of the Veda, and kudrushtayaha, drishti, the kudrushti, the drishti is kudrushta. It is not in keeping with the shastram, drishti. All of them are nishpalaha, they are useless. So the smriti, which are outside the Veda, and the shastram, which have kudrushti, false vision, they are nishpalaha, taha sarvaha nishpalaha, they are useless. They are useless. Pretya tamonishtaha, tamonishtaha hi taha smrtaha. Gaining that, knowing that, pretya after death. Pretya is after death. Pretya, they are fruitless. They are nishpalaha because they are based on ajnanam, tamonishtaha. So, Vedas are the Mula Grantha. Smriti Grantha, they are composed. Smriti means any text, anything composed by human beings. Anything composed by human beings. The Smriti will have the validity only when the teaching of the Smriti confirms with the teaching of the Veda. Then only Smriti is considered to be valid. Like Gita. Gita is Smriti. It is a valid pramana because the teaching is in keeping with the teaching of the Veda. But if it goes against the Veda, then it is not considered to be a valid Shastram. If it is the drishti of the Smriti is different from the drishti of the Veda, then it is Nishpalaha. It is Nishpalaha. So Smriti and also the text whose vision is not keeping with the vision of the Veda, they are not Pramana, they are Apramana. They are Apramana. So they are useless, they are Nishpalaha. Why? Because they are based on ignorance. They are based on the ignorance, Ajnanam. It perpetuates only Ajnanam. So their vision is Kudrishti only. Kudrishti is false vision, wrong knowledge, wrong idea, because they are based on the ignorance. Tamonishta, ignorance of what? Ignorance of the fact what the Shastra says. Shastram says Aksharam Brahma, Atma is Brahma, but these Grantha which give a different vision, they are Nishpalaha, they are useless because their vision is different. So, different and it is false vision. And therefore it is useless. Therefore it is useless. Iti Manusmriti says. So Purvapakshi, he quotes the Manusmriti. He quotes the Manusmriti and he says, therefore, if the Paravidya is located outside the Veda and the Upanishads are the means of gaining moksha and Paravidya is outside Veda, therefore they cannot be Upanishads. And therefore, how can it be a pramanam? That which is located outside the Veda is Nishpalaha. Iti Manusmriti says. Therefore, your Paravidya also becomes Nishpalaha. That is the argument of Purvapakshi. Further, Purvapakshi continues. Kudrishtitvat. Nishpalatvat.
Nishpalatvat.
Anadeya syat.
Anadeya syat.
Upanishadam cha Rigvedadi bhagyatvam syat.
Upanishadam cha Rigvedadi bhagyatvam syat.
Rigvedaditvetu.
Rigvedaditvetu.
Pratakaranam anartakam atha para iti.
Pratakaranam anartakam atha para iti.
This is the argument. Pratakaranam anartakam iti. Kudrishtitvat, because of the wrong vision. Why a wrong vision? Because it is outside the Veda, and also the vision is wrong, not keeping with the Smriti, not keeping this, with the vision of the Shruti. The Smriti, whose vision is not keeping with the vision of the Shruti, then it is Kudrushtayaha Smritayaha. And also the result will be Nishpala, Nishpalaha, Nishpalatvat. Kudrishtitvat, Nishpalatvat. Because the vision is different, the vision is wrong, and also its result, the result of that Shastram is useless. It is doesn't remove Ajnanam. It doesn't have any purpose. It is fruitless. Therefore, Kudrishtitvat, Nishpalatvat, will you accept it or reject it? It has to be rejected. It is not acceptable. It is not acceptable for even for a Vaidika. For Vaidika, Vedas are the Moola Grantha. For them also it is not acceptable. And as a Mumukshu, as a Jignasu also, for you also it is not acceptable. Vaidika will be interested in Veda Purva. A Jignasu will be interested in Vedanta. For that they have to go to the Veda. And this Paravidya, it is outside because it has got Veda Bhagyatvam. Therefore, it should be rejected. It is not acceptable because it is not a pramana. And therefore, if it is outside, and that too, if the vision is not keeping with the Shruti, therefore it becomes useless and it should be rejected. That's what the Manusmriti says. And quoting the Manusmriti, he says, Veda Bhagyatvam Chet Anadeya Syat. If the Paravidya is outside the Veda, then it should be rejected because it will not give moksha. It will not give moksha. So, therefore, Kudrishtitvat, Kudrishti, not conforming to Veda. Therefore, Nishpalatvam Asti. Iti says, Veda Bhagyatvam, Upanishadam, Cha Veda Bhagyatvam Syat. Upanishad also has got the status of being outside the Veda. If you consider Paravidya different from the Veda, then Paravidya is not acceptable. Paravidya is not acceptable. And also now the Upanishads will have to be treated as outside the Veda if Upanishads are the means of moksha. Because you say Paravidya. If Upanishads are Paravidya, then where are the Upanishads located? It is outside the Veda because you have listed as though the Paravidya is different from the four Vedas. Therefore, if the Upanishads has the status of being outside the Veda, then it is fruitless, it is useless. So, mentioning that Paravidya separately shows that Upanishads are located outside the Vedas. Rig Vedadi Bhagyatvam Syat Upanishadam for the Upanishads. And if it is located inside the Veda, then there is no need for you to mention Atha Para Iti. You don't have to give a separate status to Paravidya. You are given the separate status. So that shows Upanishads are located where they got the status of being outside the Veda. If it is outside the Veda, then it is useless. And we know the Upanishads are located in the Veda. If it is in the Veda, then why do you separate it? That Prathakaranam itself is useless. It's meaningless. So, Purvapakshi attacks the Siddhanta in both ways. Either you have to accept the Upanishads are located in the Veda. If it is in the Veda, then you don't have to separately mention. You don't have to mention it separately. Atha para yaya iti, there is no need to mention, as though this is different from the four Vedas and the Vedantas. That is number one. And if you say it is located outside the Veda, then it cannot be the means for moksha. It doesn't have the status of Pramanatvam. Then how can it be the means for moksha? So, in two ways, it is present this argument of Vashyakara. How the Vashyakara will answer this? That is interesting. We'll read Samadhanam. Akshepa given, now Samadhanam. Vashyakara says, Na.
Na.
First he says no. It means Vashyakara doesn't accept the objection. It's not correct. Why? Veda Vishaya Vijnanasya Vivakshitatvat.
Veda Vishaya
Vivakshitvat.
Just he says, first he says, no, your objection is not correct. And he gives the reason. That is why it is in Panchami. Why I say no, he says. And further he will explain why he says no. That is how the Bhashyam is. That is how the Vyakhyanam is. First he says, and then describe his own words, using some more words, and he will present why it is not so. Why your objection is not correct. Now he says, Vedya Vishaya Vijnanasya Vivakshitatvat. Vedya Vishaya Vijnanasya. Vijnanam is the knowledge, the wisdom. Vijnanasya Vivakshitatvat. That is, Vijnana is the knowledge. The knowledge of what? Vishaya, subject matter. The knowledge of a subject matter, Vedya, that which is to be known. The knowledge of the subject matter which is to be known. How? Through Upanishad, through Vedanta. The Paravidya, that is the knowledge, that is the knowledge of the subject matter of Paravidya, which is to be known, it is Vedya, Katam, through Upanishad. So Vedya Vishaya Vijnanasya Vivakshitatvat, having the status of Vivakshitatvam, Tasmat Vivakshitatvat. Vivaksha is having the status of intention to convey. Vivaksha is the intention, having the status of the intention to convey the knowledge of the subject matter which is to be known. Knowledge of the subject matter which is to be known. That is the hetu. Why I said no? This is the reason. Vashyakara says, your objection is not correct. Why? Because this Paravidya has the status of the knowledge of the subject matter which is to be known only through the Upanishad. So, therefore, your argument is not correct. Your argument is not correct. Okay. Because what is intended by the word Paravidya? By the word Paravidya, what is intended is the knowledge what is to be known. There's a knowledge what is to be known through the Upanishads. Not just the words. Words are not the knowledge. What is intended, that way Vivaksha is important. What is intended, the meaning of the words of the Upanishad, that is what is meant here. Therefore, your objection is not correct. Not just literally the words. If words are the Paravidya, then it is inside the Veda only. There is no Veda Bhagyatvam. But why it is separately mentioned? Because what is intended is not just the words. What is intended is what is conveyed by the words. Therefore, it is within the Veda only. Therefore, Veda Bhagyatvam Nasti. If you ask, why did you separately mention Paravidya? Paravidya, if they are included in the Veda, then why did you mention it separately? because Veda being the Shabdarashi, the Shabdarashi means the group of words, Shabdarashi, Vakyas, sentences. And if you take literally the Paravidya as a Shabdarashis, it is located in the Veda. But what meant by the Upanishad is what is conveyed by the meaning of the words. Therefore, separately mentioned Ata Parayaya iti. Therefore, Angiras mentioned separately to show that the intention, the intention to understand the meaning of the words of the Upanishads. That is why separately mentioned. Therefore, na. We need to understand this further. As I said before, a person after Upanayana, after Gayatri initiation, goes to the Veda Patashala and learns the Veda. As a brahmachari, he learns the Veda. Vedas are taught in the Veda Patashala. In the beginning, what they do? They teach all the Vedas. They teach the Vedas. At least one's own Veda first you have to learn. One learns. And he learns for a number of years. He learns for a number of years. He completes the study of Veda, is the Veda to which he belongs, and also other Vedas if possible. He knows, he learns by heart. That is how the teaching is. No books, nothing. Only by Shravanam, he learns all the Veda. He can do Adhyayanam. He will repeat the whole Veda. The words of the Veda, whatever he learned from the Guru, he can repeat. Then he becomes a Pandit also, Vedic Pandit. He can do rituals. Prayoga also, he gains the knowledge of the Prayoga, the usage, and all the Yajna, Yaga, the Karma, the know-how. He knows the application of the mantras in the rituals. He knows. Prayoga also, he learns. And he knows Vedas also. All the Vedas, the form of words, what he gained, it's there in his head. He can repeat the whole Veda. Now he has learned the Veda. He has learned the Veda, just the Veda, the words of the Veda he knows. Does he know the meaning of the Veda? Does he know the meaning of the words of the Upanishad, which are located at the end of the Veda? They can chant Taittiriya Upanishad, they can chant any Upanishad, but what about the meaning? Meaning they don't teach in the beginning. You have to commit the Veda to memory. Meaning is not focused. Commit the Veda to memory and use the mantras of the Veda appropriately in the particular situation. Whether when you do the Yaga, the Karma, or when you do the Puja, Abhisheka, etc., you know which mantra to be used, the application. Only that much the person knows. When he comes out from the Veda Patashala, only that much he knows. He knows all the Veda. He knows the Veda, the words of the Veda. But does he know the meaning of the words of the Veda as well as the Upanishads? No. He knows the words, but not the meaning. Therefore, Paravidya. Therefore, now what does he know? Does he know Paravidya or Aparavidya? What has he gained? He has gained Aparavidya, not Paravidya. The words, the knowledge, the words he knows, but not the meaning of the words. By Aparavidya is a person of knowledge of Aparavidya. So by Aparavidya, the words, what we say is the words are known. He knows the whole Vedas, committed to memory, but not the meaning. And by Paravidya, we say the meaning of the words, not just the words. By Paravidya, we say the meaning of the words. If it is just a word, then he is a knower of Paravidya. No, but we say the meaning of the words. Therefore, by Paravidya, the words are not implied. What is implied is, what is intended is the knowledge of the meaning of the words of the Upanishad. Therefore, a distinction has to be made. Therefore, we have to make a very clear distinction. between aparavidya and paravidya. The person who knows aparavidya is he has the word. Yeah, he knows the words of the Veda. He doesn't have the knowledge of the words of the Veda. And the person who knows paravidya, he knows he has the knowledge of the words. He has the knowledge of the words of the Veda and Vedanta. The same Mundaka Upanishad you can commit to memory without understanding the meaning. Now, committing just the Mundaka Upanishad to memory, will it give you moksha? That it becomes a moksha sadhana? No. It is just aparavidya only. You know the words of the Upanishad. You have committed to memory. It is only aparavidya. It becomes paravidya only when you study the meaning of the words of the Upanishad. Then only it becomes a sadhana, jnana sadhana. Otherwise, no. Therefore, a distinction is required or not? It is required. It is required. The knowledge of the words that has to be mentioned. That has to be clearly, distinctly mentioned. Therefore, even though Upanishad is part of the Veda and Upanishad alone gives Brahma Vidya, not just the words of the Upanishad, but what is intended to be conveyed by the words of the Upanishad. Therefore, Paravidya, the word Paravidya, therefore Paravidya has to be mentioned separately. Only when the meaning of the words, knowledge of the meaning of the words is gained, you gain the vision conveyed by the words. That only gives moksha, not just the words. Words cannot give you moksha. Words can make you a pandit. You can repeat the whole Veda, repeat the Upanishad, but doesn't give you the benefit of the study, benefit of knowing the words of the Upanishad. The benefit of knowing the meaning of the words and the moksha is possible through Paravidya. Therefore, Paravidya. So, Aparavidya, you can say it as Aparavidya is Shabda Jnana, knowledge of the words. Whereas Paravidya is Artha Jnana. Artha Jnana. Aparavidya is Shabda Adhigamanam. Shabda Adhigama, knowing the words. Para is Akshara Adhigama, knowing Akshara. How? By knowing the words of the Upanishad. So, Shabda Jnanam is, mere Shabda Jnanam is Apara, whereas Artha Jnanam is Para. Now, if that is so, Veda Purva and Vedanta, which are the Shabda Rashis, the Shabda Rashis, the group of words. Vedas are nothing but the Shabda Rashis. And Veda has got Veda Purva and Vedanta. So, now is it Para or Apara? Veda Purva Bhaga as well as Vedanta, if it is Shabda Jnanam, then it is Apara only. If it is Shabda Jnanam, it is just Apara only. If Vedanta is Artha Jnanam, then it becomes Para. Then becomes Para. So we say Veda Purva or Vedanta, both constitute the Veda. If the Jnanam is only of the words, then it is Apara. Whereas Artha Jnanam, meaning of the words, then it is Para. This must be clear. Now within this, the meaning of the words of the Veda Purva, can we call it as Para? Listen carefully. The meaning of the words of the Veda Purva, can we call it as Para? No. Even though you have got Artha Jnanam of Veda Purva means the Mantra Bhaga, Brahmana Bhaga and Aranya Bhaga, then it is not Para, it is Apara only. Because it deals with Dharma, Artha, Kama, Purushartha. they are not moksha, not for moksha. Therefore, it is apara only. If it is Vedanta Artha Jnanam, then it is para. Then it is para. I hope you understand. As the words Veda Purva and Vedanta both are apara only, as the words as a Shabda Jnanam, and if it is Artha Jnanam, then Veda Purva Artha Jnanam is apara and Vedanta Artha Jnanam is para. Therefore, para vidya has to be distinctly, separately mentioned. This is what our argument. Siddhanti's answer. So Purva Pakshi is dismissed. Therefore, Pratak Karanam Samyak eva. Pratak Karanam Avashyakam eva. Iti Bhashyakara answers. We are going to see. We are going to see what Bhashyakara says. We will see. We will see that in the next class. Stop here. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Do you have any doubts?
Guruji, one clarification.
Yes.
Veda Anga, are they considered Paurusha